After spending his entire life on the streets, this giant talking cat ended up in a shelter, but then he uttered one shocking word. Oscar roamed near a house, hoping for food and a warm place to rest. His reddish fur bore the marks of past injuries, and his blue eyes always seemed to carry a hint of despair. What truly set him apart was his soft, distinctive meow, raspy, high-pitched, and brimming with personality. One day, a woman named Emily, who lived in that house, heard this unusual meow and was taken aback. She had never heard a cat make such a sound before. When she pointed out the cat to her husband James, they started joking that it almost seemed like he was trying to say something. Oscar wasn't just another stray. He had something to express, and soon his remarkable trait was about to be revealed. The caring Emily began giving him food and fresh water, and Oscar found a cozy spot to rest not far from the house. She sensed that he didn't want to leave, which saddened her as she thought about his past. This large, reddish cat with round cheeks had spent most of his days on the streets, enduring the tough urban conditions of northern Scotland for nearly 7 years. It was unclear whether he had ever known the comfort of a real home or the affection of a loving owner. Life had dealt him a harsh hand. His body carried scars from countless run-ins with other strays, and he was weary from years of survival. Despite all his struggles, Oscar had a way of making people pause, take a closer look, and smile. In a world where stray and wild animals often went unnoticed, his cheeky, round face endeared him to many, including the kind Emily who had spotted him. Now he seemed genuinely grateful for the refuge he'd found with her and James. Emily realized she had to do everything she could to secure a proper home for Oscar. She started reaching out to local shelters, but the response was always the same. All the shelters were at capacity, and given Oscar's history as a street cat, his chances of being adopted seemed slim. They simply didn't have space for a long-term resident who might need extensive care and training to adjust to living with people. Plus, there was always the concern that street life might have made Oscar too challenging to manage. However, Emily and James had witnessed his gentle and affectionate behavior. Despite her persistent efforts to convince various shelters, none were willing to take him in. One day, a compassionate stranger who had been leaving food for Oscar noticed he wasn't doing well. His coat was less vibrant than usual, and he appeared weaker and more fragile. Normally, Oscar loved greeting people with head bumps, but that day he barely had the strength to stand. It was painful to see the once spirited cat in such distress. Oscar desperately needed help. The stranger wrapped him in a blanket and took him to a small local rescue they hadn't yet approached. Though the shelter was modest and poorly funded, offering only temporary refuge, it provided Oscar with a safe space to recover. The shelter staff quickly grew fond of the large, affectionate cat, but they recognized he required far more care and attention than their crowded facility could provide. They conducted health tests on Oscar and were stunned by the results. He tested positive for feline immunodeficiency virus, commonly found in outdoor cats who faced tough conditions and frequent fights. His body bore the signs of a hard street life. Old scars, some jagged, others faded, marked his reddish fur like a map. His teeth were in poor condition due to malnutrition and neglect, and an untreated bladder infection lingering for months caused him significant pain and suffering. Despite all this, Oscar remained a gentle giant. It was clear he'd spent his life on the streets, yet he stood out from other feral cats. While many outdoor cats tend to be nervous and wary around humans, fiercely self-reliant and often unfamiliar with kindness, Oscar was different. His battered appearance didn't reflect his personality. He was warm and affectionate, actively seeking human interaction and perking up whenever shelter staff approached his cage, eagerly moving forward for a pet. Oscar's behavior was a puzzle. Despite years of street life, he held on to the hope that someone would care for him. Now, in a safe environment, his loving nature continued to blossom. The shelter staff soon noticed the same peculiarity that Emily, who fed him, had observed. His meow had a whimsical quality, almost resembling words, which brought plenty of joy to the team. However, there was an issue. Due to Oscar's numerous medical needs, the small shelter lacked the resources to provide proper care. They understood that shelters across northern Scotland faced challenges with overcrowding and insufficient funding, but they were committed to ensuring Oscar got the help he needed. They believed that one day he'd become a fantastic companion for someone, but first he required medical support. They reached out to a cat adoption organization in Edinburgh, hoping the agency could take Oscar in. When Rachel Stewart, the communications and development manager, learned about his situation, she immediately agreed to have the gentle cat transferred to them. She was eager to meet this extraordinary cat and confirm whether his meows truly sounded like words. Before long, Oscar was moved to the shelter, where he received the essential medical treatment he urgently needed. He was neutered, treated for his bladder infection, and underwent dental surgery to address his painful, decayed teeth. After several weeks of care, Oscar began to feel much better, so much so that he started talking even more. His unique squeaks and chirps became a delightful background sound at the shelter, and the staff adored his odd little conversations. By that time, everyone had fallen in love with him, and now that he was recovering well, they were eager to find him a perfect home. After years of living on the streets, he deserved a cozy home, a soft bed, and someone to care for him. Yet, despite their affection for Oscar, they knew finding him a forever home would be challenging. His large, teddy bear-like appearance was undeniably charming, but being an older cat meant most people would prefer adopting kittens. Additionally, Oscar had feline immunodeficiency virus, requiring regular vet checkups and treatment for related health issues, as well as the need to live indoors alone to prevent the virus from spreading. It was a lot to ask of anyone. Soon enough, Oscar surprised everyone, and the shelter staff discovered a way to make him appealing to potential adopters. One day, while he was exploring his temporary space, something remarkable happened. He had settled in his favorite spot, soaking up a sunbeam by the window, when a volunteer came to show him some love. As usual, Oscar greeted her with his unique, raspy meow. He always enjoyed visitors at his cage and offered a headbutt or even rolled over for a few belly rubs. He was purring contentedly when suddenly his meow transformed. It became clearer than ever, and the volunteer could have sworn she heard him utter something surprising. From his small mouth came a sound that closely resembled hello. The volunteer paused, thinking it was just a coincidence. After all, cats don't speak, do they? But Oscar gazed up at her with soft, affectionate eyes and meowed again, clearly articulating hello. They had all joked about how it seemed like Oscar was trying to converse with them. After all, he was a very talkative cat. But this felt different. The volunteer chuckled, gave the joyful giant an extra scratch behind the ears, and hurried off to share what she'd witnessed. News quickly spread through the shelter about the enormous talking cat who appeared to express real human words. It was no longer just a strange, raspy meow. Oscar was something special. Initially, the volunteers' claims were met with skepticism, but as they began filming their interactions with the charming cat, it became clear that Oscar seemed to be engaging in conversation. The shelter had discovered Oscar's standout feature, something sure to capture people's interest regardless of his age and health challenges. No one could resist the talking cat. They started sharing videos of Oscar chatting with the volunteers, drawing in thousands of viewers who were amazed by his affectionate behavior and humorous exchanges. It was hard to believe this was a cat that had lived on the streets. Lily, a woman from Edinburgh who had been following Oscar's story since it began, was among those who watched the videos. She had always loved cats, particularly those needing special attention. Upon seeing Oscar's video, her heart soared, and she instantly felt she had to meet him. There was something in the way he chirped, and the sparkle in his eyes when he spoke that felt like he was reaching out to her directly. The shelter had been transparent about the extra care Oscar would require, but that didn't deter Lily. She was confident she could provide him with a loving home full of warmth and safety for his lifetime. She reached out to the shelter and soon found herself on the way to meet the large reddish cat. When she arrived at the shelter, excitement coursed through her. Lily had always had cats, but just a few months prior, she had lost her last one to old age. Her home felt hollow, and she was about to start searching for a new pet when Oscar's first video appeared. It seemed like fate. With no other cats at home, she felt equipped to offer Oscar the experience and patience he needed for a happy life. Lily believed they were destined to be together. As she entered, anticipation filled the air as she looked forward to meeting Oscar the chatty cat, hoping for a connection. Rachel guided her to the spot where Oscar was resting, and there he was, a large, reddish ball of fluff relaxing in his favorite spot, seeming to wait for her. His vibrant blue eyes rose to meet hers, and he let out a soft chirp of recognition. Lily knelt next to him, reaching out her hand gently. Oscar, always the gentleman, playfully bumped her with a soft thud, his favorite gesture. He purred robustly, nuzzling against her hand, and issued a deep yet unmistakably loving meow. As Lily cradled Oscar for the first time, she was struck by his gentle demeanor. He was larger than she'd anticipated, radiating a comforting warmth that felt reassuring. His round cheeks were even more charming in person, and his purr resonated soothingly in her chest. She instantly knew he was the cat meant for her. Since his initial meow to Lily, the gentle giant had been chatty. It seemed he had so much to express to the woman who might offer him the love he'd always sought. It was evident to everyone that these two were meant for each other, that Oscar had finally discovered his ideal companion. The adoption process was quick, and soon Oscar was headed to his new forever home. Lily took special care to ensure his transition went well, arranging comfy spots throughout the house, placing litter boxes conveniently, and providing numerous toys to keep him entertained since he'd be an indoor cat. She wanted to ensure this street-smart cat wouldn't get bored, but Oscar didn't ask for much. He just wanted love, which he received plentifully from Lily. With time, Oscar became established as the ruler of the household. He'd trail after Lily constantly, chirping or meowing as if he had something significant to say. At times, when the home was still and sunlight poured in through the windows, he'd produce one of those remarkable meows that sounded almost like actual words. This never ceased to surprise Lily, but it only added to the charm of this extraordinary cat. Throughout her years of having cats, she had never encountered one quite like Oscar. He was indeed one of a kind. Although Lily had anticipated some adjustment when bringing Oscar home, the charming feline adapted as if he'd always belonged there. It was evident to her that the cat had likely been yearning for this moment his entire life. She felt fortunate to have been the one to fulfill his dreams at last. Now it's your turn. What are your thoughts on this story? Have you ever heard of other stories where animals seem to speak? We'd love to hear from you, so feel free to leave a comment below, like, share, and subscribe to this channel for more amazing stories. Until next time, bye for now.